I should do an intro like, and we're live.
Yeah, have a little intro song.
Yeah, see, intro. See, done. Yeah. Say hello, Laura.
Hello, Laura.
You did such a fantastic job. Congratulations. Yeah,
I need to call up your stream as well so I can see any chat that goes on.
Oh yeah, I should do that as well. I keep forgetting as well.
Oh, you're terrible. You should never ignore your chat.
I don't ignore it. I just forget. I had considered doing this on the main channel, but then I thought I don't think anyone's going to be listening. Especially since I'm going to be talking about it's called Doctor Who stream. How many people actually watch it? You know.
Tim said he wants to watch it because he's a big Doctor Who fan.
Who?
Sage Console.
Oh yeah.
He's a big Doctor Who fan, so hopefully.
I haven't watched all of Capaldi's, which is weird. I mean, I watched the first series he did. I lost track of the second and this one, so I've only seen it in bits.
I've seen every one.
But I was very intrigued by, and it can be traced back a few Doctors, in fact, where they've been talking about a female Doctor. So, what did you think when you heard earlier that it was Jodie Whittaker?
I've never heard of her myself, like the person, so I wasn't really. I thought it was inevitable that we were going to get a female Doctor. I'm not that bothered, really, that there's a female, but I don't know her, so.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard
how
of her
good she is. So.
She was in Broadchurch, and that was with David Tennant. That's the only reason I know who she is, because of that show. I mean, it looked the video they showed was pretty cool. And if you looked, and anyone watching this later will see on the thumbnail a picture of her. She's wearing a big, massive coat and a hoodie. Looks doesn't look female at all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Indicator. I mean, I can imagine there's going to be first series, provided she's signed on for more than one. There'll be a few gags here and there about gender.
I'm hoping they do it in a tongue-in-cheek fashion.
Yeah, so. If it's tongue-in-cheek and not forced humour is so bad. It's so bad. But I can imagine it cropping up once or twice, or the girl power thing as well. Like that's relevant. Also, actually, something had occurred to me. Okay, so I was watching one of David Tennant's episodes earlier. It was the first time he meets River Song. So the second episode of that, she gains his trust by whispering his name into his ear.
Yes.
Does this mean he has a gender-neutral name? Or are we going to find out the Doctor's real name is, I don't know, something really manly like Henry? Trevor of Gallifrey. Trevor is now a female Doctor. So what does Trevor turn to?
Well, it probably will be. It's probably like a foreign sounding one anyway, so it'll seem gender neutral to us.
There was I've seen a few debates in forums about gender of Doctor, and they're like, "Oh, it's long overdue. We need a female one because of representation." That's fine. I don't care about the representation part as long as the story's good. If I jotted down some things earlier, I told you I was ranting to myself for a good 15-20 minutes about this.
Yeah.
I wrote down like the story of this female Doctor. Will it focus on the gender of the Doctor, or will it be a story just with a female Doctor? Yeah, if that makes sense. Like, instead of focusing on gender, like this season of the Doctor, they had a lesbian assistant.
Yes.
Rarely any mention of this, to be honest. One or two remarks, and that first episode and the last part of the last episode.
Yeah, there were some scenes, obviously, where she was like getting with girls, but the same as any of the other Doctors that had their own private lives, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The other assistants had their private lives, so she was obviously like. Her thing was he kept interrupting her dates or whatever.
It was a tongue-in-cheek thing as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't really thrown in your face like, oh, she's a fucking lezzer. No. It was just whatever it is, really. It just didn't matter. Although I didn't really care. He did it to they interrupt their Capaldi's Doctor especially interrupted Clara all the bloody time, all the time. Just dragged away. If anything, that was just more trace of Capaldi's.
Yes, just turn up.
Yeah, I actually it does bring up. There was another thing I thought about that with a female Doctor. Are they now going to focus on having a male assistant, or are they going to do what They do with Smith sometimes, and have a male and female assistant with Rory and Amy, but not really Rory. And instead of having with 2 females on the ship, are they going to try doing the shitty jokes with him looking like a bell end around them, the assistant, or are they just going to wing it with jokes here and there? If you know what I mean.
Yeah. That'd be a tricky one, because I've had the other... Who was the black lad as well?
Oh, the one that Clara liked.
Yeah, there was him. No, he ended up...
Oh, you're talking
going
about
back.
Tennant? Are you talking about Tennant's guy? Mickey? Or are you talking
Yeah,
about
that was it. I
during
think it
Matt
was another
Smith's time?
male one, wasn't he?
Was it during Capaldi's reign or Tennant's?
I think it was Tennant, actually. I think it's Mickey.
Then it would be Mickey Smith, and because he was, what's her name? Fucking Rose Tyler. Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that was he was all right. He was as mentioned when K9 was reintroduced for an episode. He was the tin dog. he was kind of just there.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Captain Jack Harkness, who fit in really well for a few episodes before he naffed off again.
That was a good dynamic, but he's a good actor, so...
Oh,
have they given any hint at all as to who the assistant is, or...?
No, only that video introduction, which, I'll be honest, I didn't really mind. Initial shock, of course, of a new Doctor, but then I was the same when they introduced Smith, when they introduced Capaldi, not when they did Tennant, because there was no real build-up to him, I don't think. I don't remember there being a build-up past the regeneration bit itself. But with Smith, they announced him, and he had no acting background. And I know that he'd originally planned to cast Capaldi for it, but he was busy with the thick of it, which was a good show. And then they announced Capaldi, and it took a while. Having an older Doctor had me worried when he was announced, because he was the same age as Hartnell, like early 50s.
Yeah, a lot of I've seen a lot of lasses complaining, oh, you lose a lot of your fan base now, or something. And I thought, who cares if you were just watching Doctor Who for because you were a fangirl because he was attractive, then you didn't understand Doctor Who anyway, and I don't care.
I saw a girl comment on Twitter, so we've had 13 random male doctors, and now we finally get a female. Well, you could flip a coin 13 times and still get heads. It's possible, you know. And they're forgetting that the original canon, a lot of it's been nixed. For example, the original episodes with Hartnell in were never meant to be viewed more than once. So it wasn't like this show was planned for longevity. It was just a show. And that's the same with Troughton as well. His episodes weren't meant to be viewed on VHS or DVD over and over again. And it's proven because we haven't got all of Hartnell's episodes. It's why they used the guy who played the fucking squib from Harry Potter portraying Hartnell's Doctor now. I can't remember his name. Let's just call him Argus Filch. But then the canon it evolved after when they rebooted it because they wanted to make it more inclusive. But before then, it was just male doctors because that's just what the canon was then.
Because there was a little bit, I don't know if it was in the last episode or the episode before last with Capaldi, where he's sitting eating chips with Bill, and he's going on about Missy.
Gender.
And their relationship, and he was going on about where the original trans race, or was he male, was he female, and they just made it a little casual conversation. So there've been inklings, I suppose.
We already know that he was obviously male to begin with because of Hartnell. I honestly, so in my head earlier, I had this, I couldn't stop giggling at the thought of it, and I know that sounds sad. I was like, can you imagine if the Doctor evolves, regenerates, and then decides that the Doctor that the Doctor is trans? And I'm like, you fucked your regeneration then, didn't you? In my head, that's what was going through it. And also, I agree with Bloodwing. I don't think those that are upset at this are only newer fans and have no idea about the original run. I do think, yeah. Yeah, the newer I would say there are still older fans who will be like, but the Doctor must be male. It's like the James Bond argument.
Yeah.
With people wanting there to be a black James Bond. When the original stories were written, set in like 1920s or something, that made some sense. I had this discussion with Melody Dickens.
Because really, 007 is a designation, isn't it? Not a person at the end of the day. So technically...
Exactly. Yeah, they could easily change the name if they wanted to. That's fine. But obviously they'd want to attach it to a franchise. Fine. But in the current age, they can do it. But in the age that the books were written, no, they couldn't. They could not for a second. It just wouldn't work. It would be bullshit. It wouldn't work with the timing. But we're doing it in current... anyway, Doctor Who, back to Doctor Who. Fuck it, Doctor Who.
Yes, keep on track. Keep on track.
Yes, sorry, topics. Yes, subjects. Let's stick on whatever. What do you think are the pros and cons of having a female Doctor?
Pros-wise, I do think it'll be an interesting change. If she's a good, strong, funny actress, I think I'll quite enjoy it. You know, if she's just like, as you say, if she's not all about being a woman, she's just a person that happens to be a woman. If you know what I mean.
You can celebrate having a female Doctor without having to make that the focal point of the story.
Yeah,
exploring the Doctor as a character and the development of the character is what people want. And New Aliens, because seriously, you've run out of ideas. You managed to make the Weeping Angels pathetic. That one episode, Blink, with Tennant in the third series with Martha, holy fuck, that thing freaked me out for weeks.
What? Oh my days, did it not? I was hiding behind my pillow and everything.
I can watch at night on my own, and I honestly, quite a few times, I have earphones in, I take them out and turn around.
Hello?
It was so good. But they watered them down during the Smith's run as the Doctor. And that to me diminished their potency. It's the same with a few other creatures they've managed to create, and they have created some new ones with Capaldi. But I think they'll water them down, and that could be with a new Doctor. They need to introduce a couple new enemies. We can't bring back the Master just yet, even though technically the Master is now dead. But they'll bring the Master back. You know, they can't bring back the Daleks because that's just, what's the fucking point? There's no point at all, really, is there?
No. Because they've done the Daleks to death, really. I liked it when they introduced new little, I like the little the little monsters that were made of people's fat.
Adipose.
Yes.
I've been watching series 4 today with Tennant, and the first episode is the Adipose episode. I was watching that.
They're so cute.
I've got the DVDs next to me. I'm like, yeah, that's good. I'm going to do this. When I got back, I was exhausted, made a fry up, and just sat there watching Doctor Who. Oh, yes.
I think I rewatched them all in the middle of last year.
I've only got series 6 on DVD. I need to get 7, 8 specials and other stuff. I have noticed, honestly, I haven't really looked on Twitter too much, but I haven't noticed many complaints. Whether that be because of a filter, or because people, Whovians are quite accepting. They're well open to debate, which is great. But there hasn't been much debate on whether there should be a female Doctor or not. Because most of us...
No, I haven't seen much.
I don't care. I think it's great to get girls interested. And there was this thing about... there was a thing mentioned by, I think it was Moffat, or was it Davis? It was one of the old writers, or writer current, that they wanted to introduce this new Doctor. They wanted to make them more friendly and exciting, like David Tennant's. They wanted a Doctor like David Tennant's Doctor. But not with all the tragedy that Tennant's Doctor experienced. Yeah. I think if that's the case, then this Doctor is going to be very exciting, and that interests me greatly. And that
she can capture that.
Yeah, if she can. I honestly don't know enough yet, but I think it would be great to see if this Doctor can, and if they can, then that will get a lot of the younger fans back. Not saying they left because of Capaldi, but he did have the darkest stories. He had the highest ratings, age ratings on his 3 seasons, which is another thing. Since Eccles Cake, yeah, I'm calling him Eccles Cake. I did too, but Christopher Eccles Cake. he only did one. It's Eccleston, but I'm saying Eccles Cake. Okay, he did. Yeah. He did one series, and left because of politics behind the scenes that he didn't agree with. Tennant did 3 series, Smith did 3 series, Capaldi's done 3 series. Yes, there have been specials. They've all stuck to 3 series pattern. I want to know if they're going to try and either get this Doctor to 3 series or go further to make another statement of having a longest serving Doctor. Because the longest serving by episode, I think, is tied between Matt Smith. Is it Matt? No, between David Tennant and Baker with the long scarf. Is that Colin or Tom Baker? Tom Baker?
I think it's Tom Baker, I'm not sure. So I was out of the country for a portion of time, so I missed some.
Yeah, I wasn't born then. I think it'd be very interesting to see whether or not they're going to try and push that envelope and make her the longest serving Doctor as well. What do you think?
See, because there was this whole talk of wanting a black Doctor as well, wasn't there? So it's whether they try to fit that in before the 3-year term.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the next Doctor was a black female, just because they want to maybe do a few Doctors that are female to establish this properly, depending on how long the first one ran for.
There was a few people a little bit pissed off, for want of a better word, that they passed up Idris Elba.
He's too old for James Bond. Do you really think he's going to be doing a lot of running? Even Capaldi struggled with that. I'm not saying Capaldi's more athletic, but they're around the same age, I think.
Yeah.
Well, if not, there's not much of a gap between them.
That's the whole point of the Doctor. The running.
Although, I know, yeah, that should be interesting. With what the picture they released in the very, I'm not going to say bland, because I actually thought hoodie and a massive coat looked quite good on this person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intrigued to see whether or not this person could be as athletic and run as much, because the Doctor always does. And I also do think there was talk originally when Capaldi was the Doctor that the next Doctor would be the guy from Homeland, Damian Lewis, which I thought would be very funny to finally have a ginger Doctor, another race. Because there's been that joke with Tennant and Smith, I'm not ginger, and that was really that was quite funny. And I think if this Doctor, right, starts by looking at her hair and going, oh fuck, I'm not ginger, that would be pretty funny.
I know it's a family show, but I hope they make like some, I don't know, reference to the different body parts or something. Like, I don't know, I should just running. It's just like an off the cuff comment of, it's a bit strange running with these, or just. Do you know what I mean? I hope that the whole female thing does come into it in funny ways, but it is a family show, so I don't know if it'll go as far as like, I've got boobs kind of thing. But I do hope that.
Sorry, go on.
I do hope they mention it in some way, like the different body parts or whatever.
Well, you got the costume thing as well, because normally the female assistant would have to change into time period related outfits. Not anymore. If there's a male assistant, she's going to have to do the changing. Mm-hmm. Which could become a whole segment unto itself, going into that massive wardrobe area like Tennant did, and just start trying to find outfits, which is stupid, but at the same time actually sounds quite funny.
Yeah. Trying to find the right outfit.
My butt look big in this. I think it'd be quite good. Do you have a favourite Doctor, by the way?
I think my favourite is probably Tennant. But
yeah,
Eccleston did make us fall in love with the Doctor Who franchise again, if you know what I mean.
If it wasn't for him, it wouldn't have, My older sister, she loves Tennant. When Smith was cast, she lost interest in the show. It's like it was all about that spiky hair and the long brown coat and the pinstriped suit. And the Converses.
I think it's by then because he was so good and he did the 3 seasons, so you were like quite invested in him, I guess. It's like I read a lot of long series books and when characters die.
Yeah, he didn't do one special when he finished. He did 4, and all 4 were quite long and good episodes. There was one I didn't like. It was The Waters of Mars, because it was so. It ended with such arrogance. Like he exerted this arrogance about what he as a Time Lord could do to prevent the woman from dying. And he took her home and she killed herself. And I was like, that was the you're so cocky. I actually hated him at that point.
I think that's what I liked about his character as well, was the development and the assistants, like trying to keep him back from that edge constantly all the time.
Well, he probably still, if they're going to go with any kind of canon character, it's like Eccleston held on to a lot of the War Doctor in him. He was still angry.
Yeah.
You can assume, or safely assume, that some of that residual anger transferred to Tennant. Didn't to Matt Smith, because fuck me, that was a goofy Doctor. I'm not saying he was a bad Doctor, because he had some really good stories.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, goofy.
He was goofy.
And the sonic screwdriver. I liked his sonic screwdriver, but I thought it was a bit too big. I like the idea of the 4 claws coming out of it, but it was I've got a replica of it. It's too big. I've got the Tennant one, which is a lot smaller and fun.
Oh god, I need Doctor Who paraphernalia.
I got it 10 years ago, right? And it came with UV pen at the bottom, and I used it in my dorm room at university to write lots of shit on the walls. That's just a nasty person back then. But I think for me, growing up, the first Doctor I had was McCoy, the 7th Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But I always felt that there are a few Doctors, it's well known that they had good stories, but unfortunately not the budget to support the stories. So it looked really shoddy, like Gorn level shoddy. And it was a shame, because his death was dying like a little bitch in an alley with a piece of wire going through his chest to bring out Paul McCann in that Americanized trash film that puts McCann quite low down on the characters of the list of good Doctors, because he had the shittest story known to exist. And the only way his character got developed was in comic book form. But my favorite would probably be the Peter Davison, or actually I would probably say Capaldi, because of how dark the stories were. Just because of how dark they were. And like Davison had quite, I mean, come on, stick a celery on a suit. If he got hungry, he had something really bad to munch on.
He was always putting food out of somewhere.
Couldn't he have switched it for like a Pop-Tart? just something tasty. I don't know. A stick of celery on a suit. Just, oh my god. He looked good though, in the cricket clothes as well. I mean, how much more British could you make it at that point? And he followed on from Baker, didn't he? Because it was Hartnell, Troughton, Pertwee, and then Baker, wasn't it?
I don't remember a lot of the old ones. I remember like watching them as a kid, but that was a long time ago.
I remember the order now. I've just remembered. Yeah, I think Colin Baker probably had the shittest stories of them all. He'd be the 6th Doctor. So I'm very interested to see whether or not they pull on history to introduce any of the old material, source material especially, into the new Doctor or not. Because they're bringing back the first Doctor for it anyway. Whether it be to ease Capaldi's Doctor into regenerating or not, I don't actually know. What do you think?
Because he just turns right up at the end.
Yeah. On a planet, some assumed to be directly linked to a story that is in Hartnell's Doctor run, which is interesting. That he'd go there that far, or the TARDIS would take him there. At all.
So is it going to be like one last special with him, or is the next one just going to be?
It's going to be the Christmas episode. It's not going to be a special. It's going to be the Christmas episode, and it will end, or it will either begin with the regeneration or end with the regeneration. There is something about Doctor Who, most TV shows, that bugs me, and it's that it always seems to end with the big bad. Don't they call those tropes, I guess? Like, it always builds up to a villain at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think Doctor Who needs that. the original. I was thinking about this earlier, and actually one of the many rambles I had to myself that I didn't write down was that when it and I earlier mentioned this, that each episode was meant to be viewed once and that was it. Yes, okay, we're in a different time where you can view things over and over again, and people like stories. But the episodes on their own can stand, like, they each stand the test of time in their own way. And Heartsnalls is an example of that because his episodes, a lot of them haven't been saved. I mean, with Tennant, each story ended with, let's see, the Daleks and the Cybermen.
Yeah, and you had that whole bad wolf thing running throughout.
That was Eccleston's, yeah.
Yeah.
But in the third series, it was it was the Master, and the fourth one, it was the Daleks, and the end of his specials, it was the Time Lords. But that was it didn't. I don't think it needed to build up to those. I think you could have just introduced them rather than having a story building in that direction, which all of them did.
Because he's got command of the entire of time and space, really. So there's going to be big bad everywhere at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, in Capaldi's, it was Missy, and I don't actually have a clue who the big bad was in the 9th series because I haven't watched all of it. And the series just gone, the big bad was the Master, technically, where it was his fucking fault with the Cybermen.
The series before, I think, was that not the Mind people in the pyramids?
Maybe. Oh, no. They were during that series 10. They were during it. They took over the world with people loving them.
Yeah. Can't remember now.
Oh, nor can I. And that's irritating, but it doesn't matter. Who's your least favourite Doctor, then?
My least favourite Doctor is probably Matt Smith.
Yeah. That seems to be quite...
Because I can't remember the old ones, that's why I'm not. There's probably old ones that were my least favourite, but I was like 7 and 8 and I just don't remember them.
There's like his Doctor was introduced, like super young Doctor, to try and appeal to kids, and I have no doubt he did appeal to kids, but at the same time, oh dear, the only good thing to come out of that was Karen Gillan, and I quite like her in Guardians of the Galaxy.
I liked her.
I mean, Rory's in Legends of Tomorrow as a time agent. He travels through time. How original!
Indeed. I liked Amy Pond, though. I thought she was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Certain aspects of her personality, I thought she would have made a good Doctor.
Think so?
Yeah. But then there was other aspects of it where not. Which was just quite a vibrant person, I thought.
Maybe. I thought they were going to go with Chris Marshall. I remembered him from that that comedy program with Zoe Wanamaker in it. And I thought, no. That'll be bad. Oh, Series 9, the bad guys. It was the Time Lords, kind of. I just remembered because he goes back to Gallifrey after punching a hole through a wall that took him 1 billion years to break through.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think on his he also goes on like a final date in a special with he does a thing on a planet with River Song that lasts for like years because it's their last moment together before she goes and meets Tennant and gets, quotes, saved. I liked her character. River Song was cool.
Yeah, she was cool. I liked the one as well, the young lass that became immortal. I liked her story arc. The last it was in Game of Thrones.
Oh, Maisie Williams, yeah, because she's at the end of it as well, isn't she? Because she and Clara Fluff in a TARDIS or something, in a TARDIS that's shaped like a cafe, and they can live forever technically because she'll eventually have to go back to that moment she dies, but Clara can live forever. And my thought is, you've got the whole universe, you've got all the time. At some point, you're going to bump into the Doctor. It's undoubtedly going to happen. Yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah,
Sorry, now
because they're all
she
going to
doesn't
chase the
remember.
same exciting things.
Yeah, yeah. The ratings on that episode, looking at it right, and the ratings are not great. I thought it'd do better. I've seen better ratings on The Flash. Oh well. Yeah,
I've
I had
not
to
quite
Google.
watched that.
I actually had to Google the episode because I was so annoyed that I couldn't remember what it was. In my opinion, the worst Doctor was Colin Baker, hands down, Bloodwing. Honestly,
Oh.
with I actually would, to an extent, agree because Matt Smith had a lot of well, let's put what Colin Baker's stories had and money and what Matt Smith's stories had. The only problem is in both the actors. Shit. No offense to Smith, but his face reminded me of a gargoyle. I don't know why. And it's not. I don't want to criticize him too much because he did great.
It
I
reminded
guess.
me a little bit more of, is it Odo from...
Yeah. There was something about that face that looked like it could be a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of when they announced him and I saw that hairstyle. This was what 2009, 2010, I think. Yeah, 2010. And a lot of people I knew at uni were doing that hairstyle, and I see it and I'd be like, I want to give me a pair of clippers. I'm going to fix this. And they looked ridiculous. It was like essentially comb over for the guy who's not yet balding. It's what it was. It was. I remember when I had to go on job seekers, and there's this guy I had to see every week, and he had that hairstyle. He had it the whole time Matt Smith was Doctor, and I was like, I wonder if when Capaldi replaced him, did he change his hair to grey, shorter and
Grow its
curly?
eyebrows.
Yeah. Oh my god, everyone went nuts when which episode? It was the was it War of the Doctor? When they go 13, and then there's those eyes, with those eyebrows. I mean, those were. I don't want to say fierce because that sounds like something I shouldn't be saying, but it was something. It got my interest. A lot of my friends that were watching were like, "Who the fuck is that?"
Just his opening episode, I thought Capaldi's, when he's going off it at that homeless guy in the street about his Scottish accent and his eyebrows and that and stuff. And it's just...
Everyone talks about like first words. His first word is kidneys. I've got new kidneys. I thought that was brilliant. I quite like that. The only really annoying thing I found about that was because obviously he had to simulate the TARDIS falling, and he starts rocking backwards and forwards and does, I think, a crashing bit, and it looks so bad. But otherwise, it was a funny introduction, especially after the decrepit Matt Smith old Doctor left, which was good. There's a break in the fourth wall bit in that, I think, where he says, I won't forget one line of this, which I thought was clever, I guess. I wonder if Capaldi's will end with, like, I don't want to go like Tennant's, which wouldn't surprise me since he has said he doesn't want to regenerate.
That moment, that touched me. Poor Tennant.
my sister cried. It
was so sad.
I remember one of my friends, she said, what am I going to masturbate to now?
Oh, God.
I was like, I didn't know that much. I was like, what about Matt Smith? And then he spits on the console. I was like, no, that's disgusting. He does as well. He regenerates, does this funny little thing in the most pathetic acting possible, and then spits on the console after shouting crashing. And that actually made me feel a bit sick. I was like, oh, God, why'd you have to do that?
I don't know, big fan of spitting. So do you hope the new assistant's male or female, or do you have no preference?
I reckon... sorry, do you think there'll be a male or female? What?
I said, do you have a preference to whether the new assistant is male or female?
I don't really mind, but I would be I'd be... I'm going to be called sexist. Okay, so I don't mind if they do a male and female assistant.
Right.
If that makes sense. Or a male assistant, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they don't cuck the assistant. Because the assistant's always been that. If you look at who he's had, who the Doctor's had, okay, from Rose to Martha to.
I've always kind of been the Doctor's conscience, really. I think.
Yeah, Donna Noble, especially Donna Noble, then the conscience, to Amy Pond, to Clara, and to Bill. They've all been very strong characters. If they get a male doctor, a male assistant, sorry, and cuck him, it would be fucking redundant.
It would be a little irritating.
Yeah, it would be a power play and it would be worthless. I don't mind if they do a female assistant. I think they would have to, and if they did that, I would not be surprised for a second if they did the bad guy, some big white guy. But that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't think they're going to go down that path. I hope they don't, because that would put me off the show completely. Well, this Doctor anyway, because I'm happy to ignore this Doctor's existence, like Matt Smith, if it's not. He had a couple of episodes I was okay with, like the first time you meet the Silence. I mean, come on, that was pretty weird. The Silence were quite intimidating the first time I saw those in season 6.
Are they the ones that you forget after you stop looking at them?
Yeah, they're the ones you forget they scare the living fuck out of you before then. But then they kind of got diminished with that Christmas, his final episode, actually, because they were the part of that church, weren't they? The church where you stand before them nude. Do you remember that?
The nude. I remember the nude. I'm not too sure I remember precisely that episode.
Yeah, it was like it was Matt Smith's final episode. It wasn't bad for an episode. They had like wooden Cybermen. That was funny. Convincing it to kill itself, which was brilliant. But I don't. In all seriousness, I don't mind if there's a male or female assistant, as long as they it's all going to come down to how they play the character.
Yeah, the dynamic between the two.
Is. It wasn't always hard. It wasn't. I don't want to say it's like uncertain territory or something, although it kind of is.
Yeah.
Because with the male doctors in the past, it's always been easy. Female assistant, conscience, Jiminy Cricket, essentially, but also strong and with weakness. Rose Tyler's, Martha's with their family. Donna's, her weakness was a gob.
I wasn't a big fan of hers anyway, and she just really spoiled the first few episodes of that for me. Just the constant screeching, just
okay, I can agree with that. I think the fact that she gets to live this exciting life and she has the worst punishment of them all makes me laugh so much.
Towards the end, and that Dr. Donna episode was amazing.
Oh, with the ood and the brain, yeah. But when she with the parthenogenesis thing that created the other Doctor with one heart, and then she loses her memories or has to, or she'll die. That made me laugh.
Oh,
I was like when he goes around right after he's taking all that radiation in, right, and he has to regenerate, and he gives the family. I can't remember the granddad's name. Gives him a lottery ticket. And I'm like, she's going to spend all of that in 5 minutes. You know it.
Yeah. That episode with him when they predict that his death will come with the 3 taps, and then the granddad's trapped in that box, and you just hear him tap 3 times.
Was it 3 or 4?
I
know the Master had a similar problem, didn't he? Had those taps, didn't he?
He had the drum beat in his head, but that bit, and then David Tennant just goes absolutely off it at him. He knows he's going to die. I thought that was a really well done episode.
That was sad. I was like, I would have let the granddad die. Come on.
Yeah, but you're evil, aren't you?
I'm not evil. It's just it kind of causes a lot of shit.
You did, yes.
Oh, come on. It was a rehashed story from Torchwood.
Oh, no, see, I wouldn't mind if they did the assistant a bit like, who's the robot guy in this? With Capaldi. The bald-headed dude.
Oh, Matt Lucas's character. I can't remember the name.
If they did an assistant something like that, maybe he's an alien or.
So, did you know that his character featured before the current season? Matt Lucas's head gets severed from his body and put into a robot body. So, in their timeline, they're kind of not in sync, if it makes sense. It was like with River Song. She met the Doctor. The last time the Doctor meets her is the first time he's meeting her for her last. Okay, the last time she meets him is the first time he's meeting her. With that robot alien, Matt Lucas, the fat fuck. The first time he meets the Doctor is the last time he's technically alive. But in season 10, he lives out his life and he's living his life with the Doctor before he has his head severed from his body and put inside a robot.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right?
Time really is all wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Yeah, I know, right? Which is also interesting because that was the last episode with River Song and Capaldi with the Doctor. That was their last episode together. Like her last time seeing him is the first time Lucas's character is seeing the Doctor, even though it's not the last time he sees the Doctor at all. He lives out his life. They really did wibble wobble the time on that.
Because I think they're all on Netflix.
I have DVD up to season 6. I kind of need to get more of them, but I need money first.
Yeah, so I just use Netflix.
Yeah. 4 beats. It was 4 beats. Hard to beat. Yeah, thank you, Satirician.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was 4 because I know that in that episode also the Master had the
drums constantly in his head.
Yeah, the drums at the Time Lords had buried in his head, and I have a dog barking behind me.
You do. Sounds like a very small dog.
It's a Cavalier, and it was because I tapped on my laptop.
Are they the ones with the long fluffy ears?
No, well, the Spaniels, of course they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had it because the Time Lords buried it in his head when he was a kid, which is manipulation at its finest, I guess. Although I do love this, past the fact he fights freaking Rassilon, which is a fucking mistake. I do love the ending of Series 10, which, spoiler if you haven't seen it, I guess. The John Sims Master and Michelle Gomez Master, or Missy, they kill each other, technically.
Yeah.
Which are like, I mean, obviously they bring the Master back in a few years' time, which wouldn't surprise me. But at the same time, that was lame. And funny at the same time.
Because that little episode was weird as well, when they stood really close and he's like, would it be weird if I could, and she was like, yes. And he was like, okay.
Oh my god, he's the Master is trying to fuck himself. Please. That was so embarrassing.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious.
I cringed a bit. I guess it's a shame the Master hasn't featured much. It's one of those characters I would like to have seen more rather than a couple specials doing absolute evil. Because they could have done a lot more. But at the same time, they're going to have to get creative, I guess. And no, that doesn't mean spray paint the interior of the TARDIS pink.
Oh yeah, because there'll be a new TARDIS interior as well, won't there?
Well, maybe. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they kept this one because he redecorated a couple of times. In fact, Matt Smith's Doctor did that too, didn't he? And also, you've got to remember if you remember the excuse me, the grave on Trenzalore. The interior on that is also different from all the interiors so far because there's steps going up to it. Or is it similar to Capaldi's? It has me wondering. I'm not too sure. Then again, maybe they reset that timeline when he got a new regeneration cycle.
I wonder what her thing's gonna be as well. Because like Capaldi had like the he always used to play the guitar, didn't he?
Oh, I got so pissed off that it took him so long to get a sonic screwdriver, and he had sonic glasses. that was so gay.
Like, I'll be interested. I wonder what her quirk's gonna be.
Wasn't like Matt Smith's eating custard and fish fingers.
Yeah, like why?
Oh, that I'm sure it works, but I just no. I'll have fish fingers in a sandwich and eat the custard with rhubarb crumble. Thank you.
Like Eccleston, you remember him being angry and that like just mad grin, and David Tennant is just this cheeky grin with his hands in his pockets, looking slightly scruffy.
Yeah, it kind of suited him though. Worn out clothing. Matt Smith's he looked like a nerd that should have been beaten up. I'm not kidding. He was so gangly. I just wanted to. I wanted to try and give him a wedgie. Or stick his head down the toilet, or take a pair of clippers to his hair. Which, of course, he did anyway when he shaved his head and looked like a reptile.
Reptile?
Yeah. In one episode, he's completely butt naked. He shaved it. He takes a wig off his head to get a spare key for the TARDIS out. He's shaved his head out of boredom, and his ears look like fins. It's not even a joke. It's yeah. Fish custard sounds unpleasant. Yeah, I'm sure it is.
It's just ugh.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. Okay, so I'm gonna like a prediction for you. I'll ask you, how do you think this Doctor will last long by comparison to the previous 3 Doctors?
I say I don't know. It really depends, I think, how much they want to push the diversity angle.
Okay, well, that's something BBC would do.
Yeah, whether they'll let her go out, like the 3 seasons or whatever it seems to be this time, or whether they'll try and change it up to include maybe, Doctor of Colour or something.
Okay. Do you think that they'll stick with a female Doctor after as well, just to cement it, or do you think that's contingent on how well this female Doctor is received, if at all?
I think it depends on how well this Doctor works.
Yeah.
I
kind of agree. I did have another question, but I've kind of forgotten.
Because at the end of the day, they still have to go on ratings as well, so they can.
They do. That actually could, if this Doctor is not well received in the first series, it could either lose funding or they would have to bring about an early regeneration, which would be terrible for the new Doctor. Unlike previous ones, that would mean the first one to lose their job because of ratings. Whereas these ones have had pretty good runs. A couple gap years, but otherwise it's been pretty smooth. 10 series so far, it's not bad. Do you think they're gonna push? Do you think they're gonna push the gender thing? But because the BBC and all that diversity crap we've had to put up with, and let's face it, the last 2 Doctors worth of 6 series have been stellar writing. It's been very.
Because they did push a couple of times certain things in this new season, I thought. When the episode on the Thames, where he's on about the whitewashing history, and so they did. It did crop up a few times in the new season.
They mention, like they're talking about when Martha Jones was the assistant, and they were in Elizabethan England, Elizabeth I, I guess. There's talk of race because she's like people with my skin color before they meet Shakespeare, and the Doctor mentions how diverse the country already was, and you see people of color talking to white people quite happily. It wasn't. It was more subtle. It wasn't. Although I was never a fan of Martha as an assistant because fucking hell, she was a retard.
Oh, she was annoying. Ugh.
Oh yeah, such a retard. Even to an extent, a lot of people like Rose Tyler, but even she was terrible.
I really liked Rose.
But from an innocent perspective, she was, quite good actually.
Rose
even when they brought her back in the 4th series. Who do you think would make a good assistant? Do you think, like, as a good little twist, right? because they obviously had in the running Chris Marshall, make him the assistant.
Chris Marshall.
Yeah, Chris Marshall. That was the guy does the Death in Paradise TV show. He was in the show with with I mentioned Zoe Wanamaker, the BBC comedy, the family thing.
I
can't remember the name.
what he looks like. See, because I haven't watched television for about 3 years, so I don't.
Yeah, I haven't watched Death in Paradise, but he's a goofy-looking guy with blondish hair. Name spelled with a K, Chris, not CH. I think that'd be funny. Although I do remember a few years ago, for a replacement Doctor when they had Tennant, they wanted it to be the guy who played Bates in The Family of Blood, the young guy, the school kid. I thought that was a very bold, I don't know, to get someone not only so young, but also one that was already drawn from an episode. And then I was looking through episodes and I was like, Freema Agyeman, Martha, she was in the episode with the Cybermen and the Daleks in Series 2 before, and they managed to wangle her into it by saying that was her cousin. Like, that was an identical twin then. Yeah. Karen Gillan, she was in Series 4 in the Pompeii episode as one of the witches. Right? And I had to look it up because I was watching it today and I was like, wait a second. Karen Gillan's IMDb. Holy fuck, she was in the episode. And of course, Capaldi was in the same episode.
He was?
Yeah, Capaldi played a Roman trying to get position in Pompeii. A cool feature of the episode. He would have died if Donna hadn't forced the Doctor to
That's right.
go and pick up him and his family. In fact, it's mentioned in Series 10, I think, why he chose that face was because he's the Doctor. He was meant to help, and that face was someone that was helped. Took him a while to realise that. Yeah, they've drawn people from episodes and
Oh, yeah, there's Chris Marshall.
Yeah, I would think that'd be funny if they made him the assistant now, or maybe Olivia, since they've gone with the Broadchurch thing. Is that what it's called? That show they're on? Yeah, whatever. Maybe have the other female that others were thinking would be cast as an assistant as well, and that would be Olivia something. That makes sense. Or
Sorry,
Matt Smith is an absolute kick in the balls for how crappy he is. Get the new Doctor to go back and bitch slap every single Doctor that sucked, starting with Colin Baker. Sorry, Colin.
I'm trying to think of the.
See, look.
I think if they gave her a comedy assistant, like that guy out of the IT crowd. What's he called?
Oh, hang on, no. It's got to be not. It's got to be the guy who played Moss, Richard Ayoade.
Yeah.
He's fucking funny. Okay, but he has to have the same hairdo as Moss.
I think if they gave her an assistant that was like,
well, if she's funny herself,
a comedy role,
and have someone funny, that could work.
Yeah, if they bounce off each other.
But not.
And then they could make the guy slightly nerdy, but he's still like maybe he's intelligent or something.
Yeah, I mean, if she is also a funny, quirky Doctor, then and you've got a funny, quirky assistant, it bounces, it works, rather than having a funny, quirky assistant and a strong, independent Doctor who makes the assistant look like a tool the entire time. Because all the assistants have been strong themselves, it'd be right to assume that they'd want to keep that format. Colin Baker is criminally underrated. 10th Doctor was awful, and Rose Tyler was the worst. Well, Communist in Space just hates everyone.
Yeah.
Episode says Clara Oswald was the worst. Clara, I think, if I remember correctly, Clara's character was named in honor of the woman who played Sarah Jane, because she passed away, and they wanted to honor her in some way. I believe that's where they got that name from, Clara. I believe so.
I don't like Clara. She was irritating sometimes, but at other times I thought she was a good pairing for the Doctor. So
she had a great story with like you saw her inside a Dalek and her scattered throughout all of time and stuff, and you meet the War Doctor. That to me was brilliant. I love that. I quite enjoyed the War Doctor. I would rather have John Hurt right now than Matt Smith.
That episode with like all of them was.
Yeah, it's a shame they couldn't get Christopher Ecclescake to get involved. But at the same time, he made the decision. I remember when I saw the little clip with him saying, and from my next trick, I knew exactly where it came from, and I was like, that's all he ever had to do, one little bit, and he couldn't even be fucked to do it. Damn you. But it's fine. It's fine. I'll live with it.
You'll have to, really.
So, in summary, neither of us give a damn that the Doctor's female. We're just keen to see what kind of Doctor she will be.
Yeah. And hope that they get the dynamic between the Doctor and the assistant right, whichever that may be.
Yeah, and not use the Daleks, Cybermen, the Master, the Time Lords, or any previously used end-of-series villain to rehash, because I think if they want to remake a statement, they'd need to do it with a new villain, if that makes sense. Something new, rather than using something old as if either it's because it's a way of just helping ease the Doctor in, or because reasons. If that makes any sense.
Something new and exciting.
Yeah, it'd be I've also seen a few tweets about being new and exciting and showing diversity and subject to change. You know, the show's always been good for that, which isn't entirely true at all. But I think it would be very interesting to see if they can really show this change by putting a female Doctor up against something really a new Doctor up against something really challenging. I guess don't need to keep saying female, because how totally neutral does this Doctor look already, minus the long hair? Massive hoodie and a massive coat. If that's the Doctor's outfit, by the way, because obviously they have trademark outfits.
Yeah.
Smith in his two or three piece suit, in his suit with his massive coat. Ecclescake in the worn out leather jacket. Matt Smith looking like a fucking twat. and Capaldi in a bit of an eclectic mess of boots, work trousers, and a very fancy jacket. And if this Doctor's in the picture wearing a hoodie and a massive coat, it's quite it's not very feminine, which is very interesting.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, they kind of put her in a dress or a skirt and then demand that she run everywhere, or heels for that matter. Really, you try running in heels, true. It's not happening.
I can imagine though they will use that for some stories, which wouldn't be surprising. Although I would find it funny, because this is the first female Doctor. This is the very first in canon as well. If they make a few cracks about walking in heels, if they make a few cracks about wearing a dress, putting on makeup, that could be funny if handled right.
It might be funny if she dressed like a female at first and then ran into loads of problems and then went, right, this is better.
You just want to see the Doctor in a dress, being like, fuck these heels, fuck that. Goes in, puts on a massive pair of parachute pants, a massive hoodie and a massive coat and a big old pair of Doc Martens. It's like, oh, that's the shit. That would be pretty fun. Obviously not in that language, because you want to appeal to those children, but it'd be very funny. I guess it just depends on the type of Doctor they want as well, because each Doctor is supposed to have a trait. Unique. But at the end of the episode with Capaldi, just the one that went, shouting like, I'm the Doctor, and the first one then says, you're a Doctor, I'm the first Doctor. The original, some might say. You've got to wonder whether or not that Doctor, the original, is going to encourage change or encourage to be oneself, which would mean female. Well, there's always been feminine traits within the Doctor anyway. Look at the people they've cast. They cast Matt Smith. He's practically a girl. In fact, one of the first complaints he made was, I'm a girl. Is true. Before saying still not ginger.
Yeah.
Which made me laugh anyway. Probably the only funny bit about his intro. So who's your least favourite? Again, it was Matt Smith. Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is Matt Smith your least favorite Doctor? Before we finish, anyway, I just want to know. I'm curious.
I just thought he was the one that I least connected with, really. Although he was interesting and funny and everything like that, I wasn't as bothered about stuff that happened to him as I was with the other Doctors.
So you liked Capaldi more?
Yeah,
I
did. Although Matt Smith had better, as you say, I thought he had better stories.
I think it depends, because Capaldi's stories are quite dark, and Matt Smith's were meant to appear darker in some aspects, but they just came across as goofy.
I thought there were some episodes of Capaldi's that were a bit meh.
That's the same with all the Doctors, to be honest. Even Eccles Cake had one or two duffs, I'm sure. If I go back and watch them, I'm sure one will piss me off. I'm sure it's the same with Tennant. I'm almost certain it's the same with David Tennant. It won't be as many, but I'll find them. Although I am on the 4th series, I've been watching, I've got the DVD now, on the 2nd episode of the library thing with River Song, and I'm watching it. And this is pretty good, but I think there is an episode on the series that really bugged me. It's anything with Donna's mother in, I think, that annoys me, because she's so annoying as a character.
Yeah.
More annoying than Donna, that is.
It was just the screeching. I can't be dealing with the screeching.
Oh yeah, I liked the Granddad. I don't know.
He was awesome.
He reminds me of somebody, I think, from the Railway Children.
He reminds me of somebody from I can't remember what it was called now. With all the old people in the village. With Compo. With Compo. There was the 4 old dudes. That's a really old show, British comedy. Damn it.
Tell you.
They'll come to us afterwards.
Okay. Bernard Cribbins. Please tell me he was in freaking Railway Children of all things. I'm going down to his filmography just because I'm curious. Scroll. Oh, fucking hell. 1964. Oh, yeah, he was in the Railway Children. I was right. Yes. In freaking hell. The 60s. Jesus Christ, this guy's old. Just saying, he's 88.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm surprised they cast him for a series on Doctor Who. No offense, Bernard. I'm a little ageist.
Good nick for 88, though, really, to be fair.
Yeah, okay, so in the chat, Paul McGann, I don't know, I haven't heard any of the audiobooks because I read books. I don't like to listen to them. But I have heard that there are some that are pretty good. I do think the Paul McGann Doctor in comic form actually quite good as well. But again, what killed that Doctor was that terrible story with the guy that I think played the Green Goblin or some shit. No, it was some guy from a comedy, wasn't he? But he was a terrible choice, and it was Americanized, and it sucked. The only way the show works, and it worked in America actually, which actually was benefited, you could say, credited to Matt Smith and David Tennant. David Tennant setting it up and Matt Smith carrying the banner in America was the fact that his Doctor appealed to a large audience in the United States. So maybe there's a positive from Matt Smith's run. Maybe that's why they cast such a young guy, to appeal to more people. Even if he did, he's probably more famous for getting his wang out than he's anything else.
Can he just wang out? What?
Nude pictures were leaked.
Oh.
That's Laura's evening settled then.
Nah, I don't want to go looking for nudes. I'm not that bothered.
Haha, fair enough. Do you want to leave us here, or chill yourself maybe, and then call it a night?
Yeah, I can do.
Chill away.
I never know how to show myself. Just.
She's okay. So Laura Bones is a shit pirate.
Come watch me be a shit pirate.
Yeah,
We'll
I'll
have
be in the
lots of
chat.
fun though.
Yeah, it's. I'll be honest. Watching you play Assassin's Creed, I don't know what it is, but at the moment I'm not. I don't generally put videos on in the background, but I will sit and listen to people or watch people play games. I don't know why at the moment that seems to be more interesting. Although I did spend the entire of yesterday, not all of yesterday. I guess I did watch. I think I was listening. I was watching a stream for a bit, most of it, I think actually. But I was watching World Star Hip Hop Fights compilations yesterday.
Oh wow!
Which is so funny. I mean, if anything, it just highlights black on black crime. Which was
I
hilarious.
still want to know if Laura knows a place where I can make a picture like her user pic. It's just like one of those free avatar generators. Like I think I just typed cartoon avatar generator into Google, and then just used. I can't remember what it was. The site was called now. To be fair.
Well, if Laura finds it, I'll put it in the description. I got this made for me by a fan. I asked them for it specifically for this because they made me a stood version with hat on and then loads of emotions and expressions and gestures. And they did it with the hat off. I asked them for a sat down version because I use all those avatars on this channel for thumbnail and for other stuff, and a guitar holding one, 4 versions for a music video, which is on my main channel, the Moist Awesome Song Ever. And I've also a different guitar as well with the feminist logo on it, which is shaped like the feminist symbol. In fact, I guess the really bad joke being I play feminism to my tune, if that makes sense. But it's a shit joke.
It does, yeah. I do want my avatar on Twitter made into like a proper avatar.
Oh yeah. And the only reason that exists because my avatar's in a Cookie Monster onesie.
Yeah, and then decided everybody needed a onesie.
Yes. Right. Well, thank you all for listening. I'm ending this because I'm tired.
Bye.
Yeah, again, thank you for listening. Oh shit. There's the stop. Fuck it. I almost clicked hang up instead.